Now that Qin Shi Huang has been in the game for a little bit now, I think it's time that I update my open field investment tier list, looking at the best commanders to invest in for the free-to-play and low spenders. So if you're interested in investing in commanders, whether it be legendary archer commanders, legendary infantry, or even legendary cavalry, I'm going to be making the best tier list, looking at the best commanders down to the worst, so you can get the most value for your gold heads. So if you're thinking of spending any gold heads anytime soon, you want to stick around till the end of the video. Now, before we get into the tier list, like always, I'm quickly going to do the disclaimer of this tier list is looking at future potential. I am not looking at really how good a commander is right now. Now, obviously, I will take that into account, because if a commander sucks right now, there's a chance they're going to be worse in the future, unless you're a gambling addict and you want to bet they get a good pairing. So obviously their current power will be taken into account, but I'm also looking at how versatile are they? Do they have very good debuffs? Do they have a lot of good pairings? Do they have a very open kit? Or are they a commander like my favorite example to use, and she's a really extreme one, Artemisia. Artemisia was a really good commander about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now. And at the time, she could have been a slam dunk good investment, but I used to rank her lower because she has such a specific kit and only really worked with Boudica Prime. And now she's completely useless because Boudica is nowhere near meta anymore. So commanders like Artemisia, obviously she's an extreme example where her kit is super specific, but I will take into account, does a commander have a heavy reliance on another commander? So stuff like that will be the main things that I take into account in today's video. Obviously, we're going to look at their overall open field strength, how new they are, how relatively high their stats are, and that's going to be taken into account. So that's the main things when we look at today's tier list, but with all that out of the way, let's switch over to the list. So here is the tier list today. We have a total of 6 tiers. Hashtag 1, these are the best commanders in the game. There's nothing better than them. If you're going to spend gold heads, I'd almost always get these commanders first. Great choice. Usually a secondary to one of the best commanders in the game, or they're just a really, really good primary, usually for a second march of their troop type. Rare Invest, they've got some usage cases. There's some times where you can justify expertising them, but generally they're not going to be the number one choice for most players. Mid, these commanders are super rare invest. I'd almost never recommend picking a commander up in this tier. Bad, I'd 99.9% of the time never suggest picking up one of these commanders, and why these commanders absolutely suck. Commanders such as, let's say, Charlemagne, or even commanders such as Xiao Xiao, who almost have no purpose. So commanders like these will be in the bottom tier, and they're going to serve like literally no purpose. Eleanor is a mid commander, besides being a pretty average garrison nowadays, especially since Shupper is quite a good counter, and I'm going off testing results there, like Rise of Kingdoms tester testing results. She's probably not going to be the best garrison until the next Cav cycle. So right now, not a very good pickup, and she'll probably fall out of the meta for garrisoning within the near future. Hermann Prime is still a great choice in my opinion. He's got another probably cycle before he gets knocked down to around the rare invest, but right now he's quite a great choice to pick up. If you're going to pick him up, now's a pretty good time since he's going to be pretty ripe and fresh with the release of Qin Shi Huang and his synergy with him if you run a Hermann Prime in your mutable. Now, is he a very good pairing with Qin Shi Huang? He's not bad, but he's not amazing. There are better pairings, so if you just want to run 2 Archer Marchers, Hermann is a very good pickup, and definitely essential if you're trying to do that. Gilgamesh, quite a bad commander in general, and Gonzalo, pretty good to be honest. He's a great choice if you're looking for a ranged commander, but for most people, he's not going to be your number one pickup, and these tiers will generally be, the left side is the best commanders for that tier, and the right side are the worst commanders for that tier. Qin Shi Huang, definitely the best commander in the game, or one of the best commanders in the game right now. I think he's quite tied. All the rank 1 commanders are pretty much around the same power. They're just going to be different troop types. So Qin Shi Huang, slam dunk, really good investment right now. Trades really, really well. Definitely meta with Zulang, and his AoE and really unique kit, I think means he's got quite a long lifespan left. I think Lilith is going to move away from Mighty Healing. They're just going to call that a bit of a failure, and they're going to start focusing on commanders like Qin Shi Huang, who have that unique rage cycle. Heraclius is a pretty mid commander. He's going to be one of the bottom garrisons of here because he is starting to fall out of the meta pretty hard. Sargon, also quite mid. His skills just aren't very amazing nowadays and not going to be your number one choice. Joan Prime, I think she's probably a rare invest now. She'll probably be the top of this tier. The next Cav cycle, I think we'll see Joan or Nevsky get knocked out of the meta, and if I were to bet, I think Joan is most likely to be knocked out, especially since she is less versatile than Nevsky. Now, she's a really good commander still. I think she's solid for the field. Most people aren't really running her, though, for the most part. So I think Rare Invest is fair. she could almost be justified to go into the great choice, and I wouldn't say that's a crazy thing to say, but I think right now she's a rare invest, and I would rather pick up other troop types before I did pick a Joan up. Garjamata best paired with Gonzalo, so definitely a great choice at the moment, just for ranged commanders. Now, there could be differences once we see more ranged commanders in the near future, but right now, great choice is quite fair. Harold, quite a bad commander. I don't really see a reason to pick him up nowadays. He's quite outdated, he's not very good, and there are just better infantry commanders. Lapu Lapu sucks. Scipio Emilianus, mid. I mean, he's an okay rally. He's okay on the field. There are just better choices for most players. Actually being quite a great choice in my opinion. Really good with Arthur Pendragon right now for most players, unless you run an Arthur Pendragon with really good combo armaments. And just a solid overall open field commander. Pretty good as well with Joan Prime if you need to run 2 cav marches, and again, you're running an Arthur Pendragon primary. You'll notice how Che Bing does perform quite well with Joan Prime. So quite a good choice, or great choice in my opinion. Zhu Lang, definitely a great choice, top of the tier. Now, the reason I'm not going to put him in #1, you'll notice the commanders in the top tier today just outpower him by that slight margin. So I think it's justifiable that he doesn't get the top rank. And while he is the best pairing with Qin Shi Huang, I think there will be a time in the near future where Qin Shi Huang either gets a better pairing or Zhu Lang kind of falls out. Also, for 2 Archer Marchers, Zhu Lang actually isn't Qin Shi Huang's best pairing. You're looking more at a YSG, so Zhu Lang right now, I think a great choice is a fair spot to put him. Tarek is quite a mid commander. There are much better commanders out there. William's a rare invest. If you're going for 3 infantry marchers, he's a good pickup, but otherwise there are just better choices. Scipio Africanus, great choice, but one of the bottom commanders of this tier. He's starting to become a little bit more outdated in my opinion. Now, is he worse of an invest than these ranged commanders? Probably not. Ranged commanders, I'm only putting 2 in this tier because most people want to run 1 range march when they're looking at a big murder ball, but Scipio Africanus is generally a better investment than both the ranged commanders. And I think, though, he does have a bit of a risky investment tied to him, and if I had to, I would rather get the commanders that will be ranked above him. Sharper, rare invest. He's not a very amazing open field commander, but if you're picking up right now when he releases, he's probably going to be an okay use for the field, and he's a pretty good rally. I mean, I tested him in the tester, and I don't know if I'm going to release that video before this one, but he is, in the tester, quite interesting. Not overpowered, but definitely not weak, and he's a pretty good rally. So, in terms of his rally and field potential, it's quite nice, and I think it's a rare invest if you're looking for like 3 to 4 Archer Marchers. He could be justifiable. Shajar, also a rare investment. There are much better commanders in the game right now, but she can perform pretty good for 3 Archer Marchers. 2 to 3 Archer Marchers, you can justify picking her up. Ragnar Prime, quite a bit better, or like around the same investment tier of CPO, quite a good open field commander, and he trades pretty good. The other range commanders, I'm just going to slap them all into rare invest when they come up. Reason being, if you're running lots of range marches, you don't really have a choice but picking them up. But for most players, there wouldn't really be a reason to run these commanders on the open field. There are just better commanders out there. So these commanders will be pretty much the bottom of the rare invest tier, since there will be better choices most of the time. Next up, Ashurbanipal, rare investment in my opinion. There are a lot of commanders which are better choices than him. I think he's the top of the rare investment tier. Him and William probably tied first place. He's a pretty good commander if you're looking at 2 to 3 Archer Marchers, but there are more optimal pairings where you'll notice there are just better commanders. Subutai, mid, very good rally, quite an okay open field commander, but there are just much better choices. Baiki, #1, one of the best commanders in the game, definitely top rank. Tokugawa, pretty mid, only a garrison for the most part, not the best open field commander. YSS is a joke. Charles Martel, quite a bad choice nowadays. There are a lot better. That's a duplicate of Eleanor. Belisarius Prime, they're quite an average commander. He is no longer as good as he used to be, and he was never really that amazing. So I definitely wouldn't be picking up now, unless you really, really had to. El Cid, quite a bad choice. Sargon, that's a second Sargon, I think. No, it is not. No, it is a second Sargon. Philip II is quite a great choice. I think he's in the top 3 to 5 marches for pretty much everybody. So generally, I would say Philip II is a relatively good pickup. Moving on to Edward of Woodstock. Bad. I mean, there's much better commanders in the game besides Edward. I wouldn't really pick him up for the most part. Frederick is almost no investment. There's no reason to. Arthur Pendragon, definitely one of the best commanders in the game. Top tier commander in my opinion. Definitely one of the strongest out there. Nevsky, bottom of great choice. Like the literal bottom of the tier. Purely because when it comes down to it, Nevsky is one of those commanders where he's probably going to fall out of the meta almost guaranteed within the next few release cycles. Now, is he as bad as Joan? Probably not, because he does have that synergy with Arthur Pendragon, where whenever you run Arthur Pendragon as a primary, you can run that Nevsky secondary, and it is pretty good. Hannibal Barker is a joke. Honda, not the best nowadays. Bottom of mid tier, almost in the bad tier. Bertrand, very similar situation. Legal Champ, top commander in the game. I mean, obviously, he's one of the best commanders out there. Now, he's probably the bottom of this tier because he is just the oldest and he's eventually going to fall out. But for now, he's got quite a long lifespan left in him before we see any substantial drops in the tier list. Guan Yu, probably top of the mid tier. He's like an okay commander nowadays, but he's not a very good investment. Zenobia is useless. Genghis Khan is quite a bad commander. Suleiman is a joke. Yan Ziska, outside of some garrisoning with Eleanor, quite a bad commander. And even then, with Eleanor, he's not the most amazing because she isn't the most meta garrison, and he'll probably fall out once she gets a new garrison pairing. Jadwiga is useless. YSG, I'm going to put him at the bottom of the rare investment here, purely because for 2 Archer Marches right now, the meta is a Qin Shi Huang YSG with a Zulang and a Herman, and that means YSG is in the top 2 March meta. So technically, he does have a pretty good investment usage at the moment, but he's very, very risky. He's probably the riskiest commander in the whole tier list right now to pick up, because he could become completely obsolete if Qin Shi Huang gets a new really good pairing, either next time we see a new Archer commander, which could be very soon if they do a 3rd commander release, or the next time we see Archers next year. So YSG could become completely obsolete within a year at the maximum, or he could have a pretty good lifespan. So a bit risky, but in my opinion, he's got some potential. Nebu, mid. I mean, there's better commanders than him nowadays. Pyrus, quite a bad commander. Julius Caesar, bottom of the bad tier. Mehmed, very, very similar to Honda. Pakal, similar to Harold. I mean, Pakal and Harold just isn't it anymore. There are much better commander pairings who are just going to be trading way, way stronger. So generally, I would not recommend investing in a Pakal. Chandragupta, bad tier. There's much better commanders. Mulan, with the release of Philip, there's almost no reason to pick her up, and the fact that Trajan's not very good anymore kind of means Mulan is useless. Sundok, obviously, bottom tier. Leonidas, bottom tier. Lubu, bottom tier. Ragnar, not prime. I'll put him in the bad tier because he's okay with Attila. Like, okay means barely usable. Like, he's not good. He's just barely usable with Attila. So, bad tier is probably fair. Artemisia, bottom of the bad tier. Not even barely usable with Boudica Prime, but, like, you could maybe get away with it if you're desperate. It just isn't going to do very good, and I would see no reason to invest in her. Flavius, not a meta garrison, not very good on the open field, so almost obsolete nowadays. Moctezuma is useless. Ishida is not a good gold-head investment. Boudica Prime, I'll put him into mid. I mean, Boudica Prime isn't very amazing nowadays. There's better commanders than her, and I think that Qin Shi Huang kind of solidifies the death of Boudica Prime. Boudica Prime's active skill doesn't synergize with Qin Shi Huang at all, because it's only 3 seconds, while the main brunt of his skill damage will last over 10 seconds on different opponents. So Qin Shi Huang and Boudica Prime, they don't synergize. She doesn't really have the most amazing open field usage. Henry's becoming outdated, so I think mid is quite a fair tier. Heraclius, I think that's a second Heraclius. Justinian is quite a mid commander nowadays. Now, I think that he's around the same tier as Scipio Emilianus. Barely usable for 3 to 4 cav marches, but not really going to be a go-to. Minamoto, similar situation, not a go-to. Really easy to get though, so if you do need a quick cav commander, you can consider using him, especially if you double or triple relic him. I don't know if he's got his 3rd relic yet, but from my knowledge, he isn't the most amazing on the field right now, but he is around a barely usable tier. Thutmose, not a very good pickup. Richard, very similar situation. Saladin, probably a similar situation. Cyrus, I'm going to put at the bottom of the mid tier instead of putting him in the bad tier, because he's pretty good for swarming garrisons, he's pretty good with a Chapeau pairing, and he's just overall got a little bit of value now that Chapeau is in the game, because Chapeau, especially in terms of garrison, or rallying, sorry, really does a ton of additional damage, and Cyrus is able to boost that tremendously. So if you're swarming down a garrison, you probably want to have a Cyrus swarm in there, because of Chapeau's active skill dealing so much additional damage over time. So Cyrus, definitely a okay choice right now for big whales who need him to swarm garrisons, but not going to be one of your best investments for 90% of players. Ramses, I'll put him at the top of the bad tier, and the only reason I'm going to put him at the top because the rest of the bad tier and below aren't really ranked in order. The only reason I'll put him at the top is because Ramses can work with Cyrus, and since Cyrus is making that comeback, some whales might choose to pick him up. Now, would I choose to pick up Ramses? Probably not. I think you could run a Cyrus with a Boudica and be perfectly fine, but some people might choose to run that Ramses pairing. Dido, quite bad. Archer Garrison right now, not the best. Amana Torre, almost useless. I don't see a reason to pick her up. Takeda, not the best nowadays. It's Attila with Subutai is just better. Theodora is useless. Tamiris is useless. Trajan, like, bad tier, to be honest. I mean, you just run a Philip and he's going to be way better. There's like zero reason to invest in a Trajan, and he'll probably end up in the Y tier very soon. William, not the best, not the worst commander. Certainly are better commanders in the game, but you can slightly get away with him if you really needed it. Wu Zetian, not a very amazing commander. Zhang Yu, similar to William, not the best, not really the worst. Barber, just another range commander, so I'll put him into the rare investment. Gorgo is quite a mid investment, but probably towards the top of the tier. Not a bad garrison with Tokugawa. Other than that, though, yeah, she's not really good on the open field. There are better pairings, so Gorgo, I think, really just kind of a mid-investment. And then finally, we have a few commanders here which are kind of mixed up. Starting off with the Ethelfled, quite a bad choice. I mean, she's completely free, so it doesn't really matter, but she just isn't very good on the field. Alexander the Great, mid, I think, is fair. Good for 3 infantry marches. Not really needed nowadays that Liu Chair's best paired with Bai Qi, but if you're running 3 marches, you have to pick him up. But I think William is technically a slightly better investment than Alex for future potential. Now, Alex, probably the top of the mid tier, like the best commander in the tier right now, almost at the rare invest tier. Now, I don't think I can justify him there right now, because infantry are kind of moving away from Alex. Now, is he still good? Sure, but in the future, we could see something a little bit different. Attila, mid, you could use him for rallying with Subutai. You can use him on the open field a little bit, but he's not the most overpowered. CJ, mid, I mean, he's not the worst commander anymore after his buff and his changes, but he's not the most overpowered. And Constantine, only really good for Canyon, so I'll put him in the bad tier. So this is the tier list. I've roughly ranked from the best to the worst of each tier, besides the best tier and the bottom 2 tiers. So the bad, the wire tier, and #1. They're not really ranked best to worst. I mean, Liu Chair is the worst of the top tier, but the other 3 commanders aren't really ranked because they all perform really well in their own regard. Great choice. I tried to rank these the best I could in order. Rare Invest, they're basically ranked in order. Mid Invest, they're kind of ranked in order, to be honest. And then the rest just aren't really ranked in order. So that is the tier list for today. I know there's a bit of duplicates here. Hopefully that didn't create any confusion. The only reason there's duplicates, I had to wipe all my PC files and download everything again. So there was obviously a few overlaps here. So these will be removed for the next tier list. But this is the final open field investment tier list. I'll quickly move my webcam just so you can look at it. This is the final open field investment tier list. So if you are considering investing, I'd mainly focus on those top commanders and those great choices. And if you really need it for some weird murder balls, you can pick up the rare investments. And that is it. So if you found today's video helpful, interesting, informative, whatever it may be, if you think it was just a good video, please do consider slapping a like on the video. I don't normally ask for likes on videos, but every now and again, I like to spice it up. So putting a like on a video, completely free, doesn't even do anything to you. So if you want to support the channel, giving it a like is a nice small gesture, which really does support it. So a very big thank you to the people who do consistently like the videos. I notice some people like because a little thing will show up next to their username if they like the videos often. It will say like one of your top likers on videos, and that is pretty nice to see. So everyone that likes videos consistently, I do notice. I really do appreciate it. And other than that, I just want to say, yeah, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.